Hello there, and welcome to another great video game ideas not used video, GVGIMU for short. As always, I'm Andre, and it is a pleasure to share my thoughts with you. Um, so you've read the title. Quite obviously, you understand that this is about Zelda remakes that should be done. Yes, very simple, correct? I don't know. For some reason, I feel like I'm in a cynical mood. I'm trying not to be, but if it slips out, I apologize. But yes, Nintendo should definitely remake two of the Zelda games in the franchise. And when I say two, I'm pretty sure most people that see this or are listening would understand which two games I'm talking about. That would be the original Legend of Zelda game and the Legend of Zelda 2 Link's Adventure. And the reason I say that for those two games is that they are deserving of the grand scale epic questing experiences that we were given with Ocarina of Time, I mean, Majora's Mask, Twilight Princess, and Skyward Sword. And yes, many of the other games did that as well, but those are the ones that are in my mind best suited to be the examples for the direction these games should go. And being that based on their timeline, that this plot line in the story is based on if Link is somehow not successful in defeating Ganon during the OOT game, which I kind of think that since that is the point, that the game should be, that particular story, that line of story should be a bit more dark and a bit grittier. And it would make a lot of sense, seeing as, like I said, that depends on the hero of time, Link, pretty much dying before Ganon can be defeated. Which obviously Ganon does get defeated at some point, somewhere along that line. But just saying, that's where I'm going. That's what makes sense to me. It shouldn't be like, it should be total opposite spectrum of where the Wind Waker storyline went. Is basically what I'm saying. And we got a glimpse of that type of story in Twilight Princess when that game came out. And that's more or less where I think it should head. I can't say for sure that I can describe the perfect world for either of these games, but both of them should have some sort of, you know, as far as I remember, even Zelda 2 kind of was like a tragedy in and of itself, but it should be a bit more, I guess, I don't want to say mature, because we've seen that the Legend of Zelda games actually have been increasing in maturity as they've gone along. But yeah, I guess I could say that. It should be not so much so that kids couldn't pick up and play the game, but the story should have a deeper meaning to it, I guess is more or less what I'm trying to say. But yeah, especially for the first Legend of Zelda game, I would love to see it remade with like a darkened world with a darkened sky above it, and just like a perilous type of situation to see Link have to be thrown in on that. And I would like it to not be the little kid Link, but not adult Link. I want him somewhere in the middle as far as his age, because that's what it seems like. He would be like around the age of 14, maybe 15, where he's not like fully grown up, but he's not a child necessarily. This is just thoughts I'm processing anyway, but that's how I look at it. And then that way, if and I hope they do it, they remake Zelda 2, it would be Link as he's a fully grown man at that point, above the age of 18, not 17 like Ocarina of Time is, but as a fully grown man. Even though we all know that there are a multitude of different links, but this is just what I'm saying for that particular section of that particular part of the story. That's how it should be. Because it was the main reason I think that, because I think back to playing The Legend of Zelda 2, how the backgrounds were always, like, not always, but for the majority, the backgrounds were kind of dark. They kind of had, like, these earthy colors and tones to it, and it just seemed like, okay, this is a bit more serious than the prior installment. And that's how I feel it should be. It shouldn't be, like, super lighthearted. It should be a, I guess I want to say more or less like a terrifying situation to have to be in. Like, just like if you were in that situation and you could put yourself there and you had to do these things, even if you maybe in your core didn't really want to do them, but you knew that they had to be done and had to be taken care of, then that's how it should look. And in my mind, that's the way that they should go. I mean, you have this potential that these two games haven't fully lived up to, that you can draw out if you do a full remake of these games. And I'm not meaning a re-release. I literally mean a full-on, high-quality reproduction of these games. And, I mean, because with the way that the first game opens up, yes, Link is right there in the world, and you have to go into a cave and get a sword from a strange old man. There should be some sort of explanation as to why these things happen. There should be a storyline that can kind of, give you reason to push through it. I mean, back in the day, we didn't really need all that. Because, like, hey, you wanted to play a game, you wanted to play a game. You weren't really worried about who was doing what for what. You just wanted to get into the action. And I mean, I can kind of understand it at some points, but with the way The Legend of Zelda is, those two games are really deserving of a fully redone story. Like, not saying take things out of it, not saying change the story, but just, build upon it, add to it, make it better fit your timeline. And I mean, they had a good start with that around the time of A Link to the Past. Nintendo had really done a good job of it then. And I would even love to see that game kind of remade and done in a more mature manner, but at honestly, it's pretty much fine the way it is, because it has all of the elements that it needs to have that I was talking about. And I just ran on for some reason, but yeah. And like I said, I know The Legend of Zelda 2 had like kind of like a dedicated story, but I would really love to see that game done in a 3D layout rather than a 2D layout, where you could actually fight in 3D and deal with the enemies in that way. It would just be that much more amazing and enjoyable as a player and a fan of the series for me. So that's pretty much where I go with it. And I know I probably talked a lot more about The Legend of Zelda, but like I said, that game really was pretty much a bare bones game compared to its successor. Oh, throat got dry. But that was, it was a pretty. You compare it on certain levels to the game that followed it, then yes, it is bare bones as bare bones can get for a video game. It doesn't change that it is a great video game, or was a great video game for its time, but I really think that they could use an update for that game. They could, for those two games, they could really do it. And I, for one, would definitely jump on board with picking those games up. I would, really? I would go for it. Like, even if I didn't have a Wii U, I would probably pick up those games to have them, So that way, when I finally got the fucking console, I'd be able to play it immediately without fucking question. That is how much I love those. How much I love the series as a whole. That is why I'm saying, Nintendo, get on the ball, do this shit. Why are you guys like leaving these opportunities to like really stun and impress people just drift off in the air? Like, come on. Like, you're one of the biggest video game companies ever. You could do this shit easily. You need to dedicate a team to remaking and reproducing these games. You really, like, not even a team, a few teams to do this shit. I would love a fucking Legend of Zelda game that I literally have to play 70 hours to get to the end of the game. Something that massive. That is what the fuck you guys need to do. That is the next step for the Legend of Zelda, or it should be the next step for the Legend of Zelda. And doing that with remakes of those games would be fucking phenomenal. It would be amazing. But I think that's pretty much where I'm going to end the video at. And like I said, it's more or less just my own personal thoughts. I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of people who appreciate the Legend of Zelda series much like I do, who could agree with me on that. And honestly, I would love to see them do it and then update the timeline. I mean, because they're making A Link Between Worlds. I want to see them update that timeline as they make the new games. That way, it can continue to make sense. Because they could just make games at random and we fucking wouldn't know where they fit. So I mean, that's why I'm saying they need to, as they do it, they update their timeline. They don't have to like do a printed timeline every time. They could just leave it up on their website and just leave it as like a big chart or whatever the fuck, and just add the games in as they go along. I mean, quite obviously, A Link Between Worlds is pretty much a direct follow up to A Link to the Past. So that was obvious as to where it fits. But yep, I think I'm done. I just ran off on a minute long tangent, I think, but I'm pretty much finished. So I hope that you found something in this to be enjoyable, or at least the thought of it anyway. And I will continue to run over my random ass video game thoughts. So thank you very much, and I hope that you keep your eyes and ears out for more of my content. Oh, and my holiday shopping guide actually is out now, so people can read it. I'm not going to link it because that doesn't fit this video, but maybe in the next one I'll probably link it in the description if you don't feel like going searching Yahoo Voices to find it. But anyway, thank you very much, and again, keep your eyes and ears out for more of my stuff, and until the next time, enjoy your games.